The more we look into all the programs and responsibilities of our county government, the more things we uncover.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, Shannon, how much they do and how well they do it.
So let's take some time now to get familiar with some of the little-known programs and activities.
You know, we might just surprise you.
Hello everyone, I'm Bill Mance with Jackson County Close-Up. We are continuing our series on law and order, and we're back for the second time down here at the Transitional Center, and there's so many great things going on down here, and we're so lucky to have this place. It's unique, it's exciting, and it's effective. So we're sitting down here with Mike Hescock, and Mike is a program manager here at the Community Justice Transitional Center. And I just appreciate so much the work that you do first, but really spending time with us today and helping people understand a little more about what's going on around here.
Absolutely.
Before we get into the program that we're going to discuss today, which is the Transitional Care Program, give me a little bit of just kind of background. How did you get here? Give me a little bit of your background so people kind of understand what drew you to this sort of work and ultimately how you got to the position that you're at today.
Started as just a way to get college intern credits and practicum credits. I was at Southern Oregon University. Graduated from there and started an internship practicum with the juvenile department several years ago, and that just snowballed into enjoying the work that I was doing into a part-time position to full-time position, and has continued to run for, will be 21 years in August. And through that journey, it's been a process of going through juvenile parole and probation work, community service work, community service placement work, into adult services, adult parole and probation services, and then on to the Transition Center here as of the last 8 months or so.
You haven't wandered far. You're just up the road
No.
just a little bit here in Talent. But of all of those kind of processes that you went through, the transition from juvenile to adult probation or adult programs, different for you, hard?
There was some things that you leave behind that you miss. Enjoyed working with kids, the impression that you're being able to formulate and a little more malleable individual. And after 6 years, people that I'd been dealing with at the ages of 12, 13, 14, 16 is now in the adult system sometimes. So thankfully a very small percentage, but there was some familiar faces when I made that transition. And the work really is not all that different in a lot of ways, depending on how you take the approach of what you do and the purpose you have and how you serve your clientele. That didn't change. Working for the clients first didn't change. Some of the guidelines, some of the rules, certified law enforcement versus not, little things changed, but overall it has been a consistent workflow.
So when you talk to other people that don't have a transitional centers, how effective or what do you think of this place?
Well, it's an invaluable resource because a lot of counties, I believe there's only a handful in the state that do have a transitional center. And most of those counties that don't, they don't have alternatives to jail overcrowding, to less custody sanction or behavioral change interventions to where they can put them somewhere other than county jail custody to be able to afford them opportunities to, one, either gain access to resources, get their feet under them, and be able to come out on the back end of that penalty better prepared to face life and to hopefully toe the line and change behavior and lifestyle.
So outside of the transitional care program, give us a little overview of what you kind of oversee and what's a day in the life look like for you.
My job out here is, as a program manager, is to oversee several different programs that we have, the Transitional Care Program being the primary one that takes up a large part of time. It's a pretty intensive program. Outside of that, we also have federal clients through the U.S. Parole Probation Office and federal courts that we take in, a minimal amount of those, but we do have a contract with the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And then we also have female Department of Corrections contract, where some of the female gals that are assessed for risk and health and service are allowed to transition here up to 180 days or less of their sentence, and they go through programming here, much that they may not be able to get in the institution. Some is the same as they can receive in the institution, just depending on the length of stay. And those folks we bring in serves 3 different counties, and so when they release from here, they'll release to one of those 3 counties: Klamath, Josephine, or Jackson.
So the Transitional Care Program, which is what we're here to talk about today. So tell us what that is.
It's a residential drug and alcohol program that is afforded to our Jackson County Community Corrections clients. And most of those come through either the ROC court, the Recovery Opportunity Court, or the Adult Drug Court. Some are from the general supervision caseloads as well. They're referred in. It's a volunteer program, even though they sometimes have an incentive behind them from the judge. It houses 9 males and 6 females.
Okay.
So a seemingly smaller population. They are housed on site in separate houses, and they go through a whole module of curriculum-based programming. The primary focus they look at your thinking patterns and how that plays into your lifestyle. Pro-social patterns, how you think, the decisions you make, and the ripple effect that those have. And if we can change the way that they are building those thinking patterns and the way that they make those choices, then we can get in the front realm of them choosing not to use.
Part of the transitional program is the moving on, which I know that the female members of the program go through. Tell us a little more about that.
It's part of the moral recognition therapy program. It's gender specific, and so it deals with the female trauma and the issues that come through that they've had in their life of abuse and what have you, and how that's led through their addiction. And so they are able to work through those class components with a qualified mental health professional that we have here from Jackson County. And the men have Seeking Safety, which is on the male gender specific side, that goes through and deals with a lot of the same issues just from the male standpoint. They also go through an employment readiness component where they go through resumes, interview skills, job history, and they look at getting those fine-tuned and tooled up through the employment specialist to be able to go out, and while they're in the program, they go out and job search and they interview, and they get employment, they get housing, and all of those are benchmarks that we achieve before they complete that 22-week process. So they come out having completed the various types of COG and addiction programming, as well as housing and employment. And they are also benefited with the ability we facilitate a lot of needs that they don't usually meet prior to that process, whether it's dental, medical, physical issues, vision. They go through and they get full physicals, and we look at what their needs are.
So do they all make it through, or do some of them make it part of the way through?
Unfortunately, not all of them. We have yet to reach 100% success rate, but we have, just in the last group, the last cohort, you're talking about 9 guys, 6 gals, so a 15-person mix. I believe we finished with 7 and 4. So, statistically speaking, again, it's a small number, but statistically speaking, our success rate is ranging up into the 70s to 80% range, which is pretty healthy. And a lot of it is the success I see and that we have seen is throughout those cohorts that the return rate is not return to our program, but return rate as far as recidivism into our system is extremely low. So the type of treatment, the type of modules they're going through are lasting with these folks. There's an aftercare component that has been built in where there's continuation of treatment groups post that 22 weeks. We are looking at ways to continue to pull the graduates, if you will, from prior ones back in, keeping them connected. A lot of them are finding that that on the outside, that they have that support amongst themselves after having gone through this process and after having made the changes they've made, and they're able to lean on one another, and they're actually being very successful with it.
Bringing families back together, I mean, are you seeing relationships mended and some of the other side benefits, I guess, if you will?
Some relationships mended. If anything, a lot of the damage or trauma from poor relationships being addressed and being healthy, approached in a healthy fashion to where they're able to work through those issues. In some instances, yeah, there have been some, a lot of the folks that come here, male and female, are fighting for their kids. You know, dependency courts at their heels, and poor choices, just like a lot of other things that they've neglected in life. Unfortunately, relationships can fall into that category too. One individual in this last group that just finished kind of resonates with me, has a young daughter, probably not too much different in age than one of mine, and he was willing to come through our program and stay through our program and put a lot of effort into it. And his daughter, she was one of the driving forces for him. The relationship was not all that healthy with he and the mother of the child. She's got issues in a different county and working through those. And so it kind of reinforced his need to be something that she could cling to.
That's got to make you feel good about coming to work every day.
I do. I've enjoyed this last piece of transition for sure.
I just cannot thank you enough for the work that you do, first of all. As a member of this community, it's always nice to know that we're just not checking people in and checking people out, and we're doing the best we can to really get them headed on a path that makes them better people in our society, and we can't just lock them up. That just doesn't work. So
No.
Thank you for working hard for the people that you're working for and championing their cause and making our community better.
No problem. It's my community as well as theirs and yours. So whatever we can do to improve it.